This session is called Learning Bible Stories by Drawing. You can get great benefit just by watching these films on your own and following the instructions. But it'd even be better if you could be in a group that's in a multiple of 4, 8, 12, so on and so forth. That way you could be in the same type of groups that the people that are in this workshop live. Once you get in a group of 4, number off. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 being partners, 3 and 4. And then we will switch you around as you go through. The next thing to do is to select a story. Now these stories are taken from my book, All the Stories of the Bible. There's a couple ways you can get this. You can go online, this website right here, and you can download it free. Or you can go to this address with an email, phone number, address, and you can order it for $12 a book plus shipping. That's a great price. Once you have that, I have selected some lesser known Old Testament stories so that you can try a story that you haven't learned yet. Here are some numbers that will be the ones that I have selected where they're not terribly difficult stories. The difference is the length. So I encourage you to try one of these stories. Now, once you've done that and you're into the film, every time I give an instruction, stop the video. I don't give you enough live time in this video for you to do what was instructed. Now, sometimes you'll actually see people in the audience following the instructions, but still there's not enough time. So every time you hear an instruction, stop the video, do it, and then come back. The main thing is don't overstudy. And you would think study is good, and the more I do it, the better. Not in this case. When we tell you to read something once, or read something twice, or something like that, do exactly as I say. You can overstudy. If you go beyond that, you're actually moving towards memorizing. So let's join the group now as we go live in the November training. I have selected some lesser known stories of the Old Testament. I've tried to stay pretty close to the beginning. So we have Abraham stories and Jacob stories and Moses stories. So we have those, and I've selected the different ones that would be kind of in that area. And right enough, some of them are a little bit strange. That's okay. There's a lot of strange stories in the Bible, and I've picked out some of them right over there. And I've also picked out ones that don't have a lot of difficulty to them. So how do you know what you should? Now you haven't got time to go over there and read them all. No, what you do, you're looking for one thing that will determine your level, and that is length. They're all about the same difficulty level, except if you're a little bit more open for a challenge, choose a long one. If you are saying you're really nervous about this thing, choose a short one. Now, if it doesn't really matter to you and you walk over there and you see a short one, you grab it, don't do that. There's other people who are really desperately trying to get their hands on that one. Leave the short ones for those who really need it, and just go ahead and get a medium-sized one. So now that you have your partner, and where's your partner? Okay. And so go over there and pick a story, and then find a place in the room. Do not read your story. Do not read the story. That's important. Get it, have it, but find a place in the room. You got the whole room to sit in right here. You don't have to be in the circle. Just find a place where you're separated from everybody else a little bit. Have your story, just kind of get situated in it, and then I'll tell you what to do with the story. Okay? Go over there and do it. Group over there. Okay. Now, I want you to number off 1 through 4. And that really 1 and 2 need to be sitting next to each other, and 3 and 4. So is that the way you have it? 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Okay. So 1 and 2 need to be sitting together. 3 and 4 need to be sitting together. Okay. Now, I want you to read your story twice, 2 times. And once you're done reading it 2 times, give me eye contact so that I know you're done. Okay, now I want you to look at your story, and I want you to section it. Put it in sections. Every story should have at least 3 sections, maybe 4, maybe 5, but probably no more than 5, and probably no less than 2. So kind of look at it should just naturally fall into sections, scenes, you might say. Now, you'll just know that every activity that we do, this is always going to be a part of it. You always need to take your story and section it. Easier to learn 2 or 3 shorter stories than 1 long story. So always break the thing down so that it's easier to master. Okay. Now, while some are still doing that, those of you that are done, take each section, and I want you see I gave you a little bit of extra space on your paper right there, and you can also use the back of your paper. I want you to draw something, a little stick figure for each section, something that sums up that section. Now, it doesn't, we're not in art class right now, so we're not talking about something that you're going to display up on the wall. This is just for you. And the stick figures don't actually have to make sense to anyone else but you. You do not draw it for someone else to see. It's only what makes sense to you. Mark Getz always does this, and if you saw his drawings, it's a mess. It's lines and circles and triangles and arrows and stick figures and funny things all over the place, but it makes perfect sense to him. So feel free just to draw something for each of the sections. Now I want 1 and 2, and then also 3 and 4. I want you to, it's what we call stumble through the story, except we were at one of our prisons that we were at, and we went back after they had been going for a while, and they somehow in the process got it kind of turned around, and they start calling it fumble through the story, and rather than stumble through the story. So we've just kind of picked that up as fumble through the story. So what I want you to do right now, I want you to put away your, now if 4th grader, I would say put your paper underneath your desk, but turn it upside down. Now, partner, the first one to listen, it's your job to make sure that your partner does not look at their paper while they're telling the story. That's your main job, is to make sure that they do not look. This is a fumble time. This is the time to fumble through the story, and don't look at what's there. So you will forget parts of it. That's okay. Matter of fact, like I will tell you later, that's very important to do. You need to forget a little of it, So this is a fumble through the story. So 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. You choose which one's first. Okay, at this time, one of you stumble through the story while the other one listens, making sure that you do not look at the text. And after you're done, don't look at it until the other person has had a chance to stumble through the story as well. Once both people have done this, then pick up the paper and read it 1 more time. Now what I recommend is, after everyone has read the story 1 more time, collect all the stories and put them off to the side. Do not look at them again until this exercise is done. Then change partners. Right now you're 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So switch over to 1, 3, 2, 4, and tell your story.
So he spoke Moses said 1, 2, 3. 70 elders to help you lead and guide the people. And so Moses believed it, and he told people to go prepare themselves. Well, the next
We like to stay at home.
And so Moses goes to the Lord and
What is your name? At that point, the person left. Jacob still had a limp. Meet his brother Esau was coming. Esau met the different groups, 3 different groups. He had in front of him. Finally came at last to Jacob with his foreman.
Our rebellious people, do I have to see water from this rock? So when he said that, he hit the rock twice, and the rock gushed water. Everyone had enough.
he said,
Therefore,
tell those two people to stop
And then
prophesying.
he continued on his journey, and he got to his uncle's
I wish
house.
them all got
And
have to come out here to that.
he was staying with him, and his uncle received him with joy, and they had a big party. And
Not to lose the wrestling match. Jacob was on so long that he was up.
He grabbed the young man and said, I'm next to let you go until you bless me. Jacob said, well, what's your name? The man said, I'm not telling you my name. He left. So Jacob limped from that spot and said to himself, indeed, I've seen God's face. I've lived to tell it. At daybreak, camel
Jacob recognized his family. Then Esau grabbed hold of him, lifted him up, embraced him, and still angry with me. So I sent these animals as gifts to you to show you how much the Lord has blessed me and my family. But
So who needs more time? Okay. Now, 1 and 4, 2 and 3. 1 and 4, without looking back. 1 and 4, 2 and 3.
Jacob wanted to go home. And so he went to Laban and he said, allow me to take my life. And Laban said, no. He said, I could, but I'm being blessed because
so he had to go to
and Jacob said, you don't have to carry her. He said, but how do I want to change this? I'll build a floor. And he'll know if I'm virgin because he can just go
They're about to stone me.
This is nothing.
And God said, there's a big rock over here. I'd like you to stand in front of people. I'll stand in front of the rock. I'd like you to take your staff and then hit the rock.
I did this in clear conscience. He told me. Abimelech and I come to him. Come to him.
surely Esau saw all the cases, thinking that Esau attacks the land. He had to hold his
Jethro was watching and also to start out this day. And he came and told Moses, you were expecting to meet Esau.
He told these animals were given from Jacob to as a gift. He told that to each of the 3 groups. Sent them on their way. Jacob was still troubled, and he couldn't sleep that night, so he got up in the middle of the night and went out by himself to the wilderness. place. When he was there, a man approached him, grabbed hold of him, and began to wrestle with Jacob. The two men wrestled with one another throughout the night. And the man injured.
When you're done, you go to the table and pick up your story. And you might want to frame that artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pulled you away from your script, you see, fairly quick, because if I'd let you have it any longer, you would start getting words rather than pictures. You start memorizing those words. So I got it where you're on the verge of doing that, and then I pulled the script away from you. So you were forced then to look into the pictures that you had already formed and didn't know that you had. And like you're saying, they were there. And now that you have it back, you can look at it again. But again, be careful how much you read that story. Do you realize that you can now tell a chapter of the Bible? Now, you don't have it memorized, every and the and commas and all things like that, but basically, the stories you have right there, that's about a chapter out of the Bible. And I mean, and if I had announced that the first hour of our session, we're going to memorize a chapter of the Bible, you'd say, oh, look at the time. I don't think I can be there until after 10. But here you learned a chapter of the Bible. You can tell it, and probably had fun doing it. And that's the beauty of Bible telling. It helps you. I mean, it's good to memorize verses, but you need to internalize chapters. Verses are good, and you shouldn't learn verses, but in addition to that, you need to internalize chapters, and that is hiding God's Word in your heart. When you internalize huge sections of Scripture, and it's only can be done in a way where you picture them and not memorize the words. Well, there you have it. I trust you learned your story and followed the instructions just like we said. If so, you should be able to tell that story now. The key is tell that story 5 times. If you'll tell it 5 times, you will have that story permanently. You will be able to tell it a year from now. If you don't tell it 5 times, you'll lose it. And then join us for our next session. This is just one of many ways of learning Bible stories. It may not be the way that fits you best, but I trust you still went through it, and we'll see you in the next session.